Can you be my boyfriend?
The notification had appeared on Emma's phone 3 days ago. A message from her best friend Sarah with nothing but a time, a place, and the words, "Trust me on this one." Now Emma sat in the corner of Riverside Cafe, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup she had not touched, her phone clutched in her other hand like a lifeline. The cream sweater she wore was her nicest piece of clothing, borrowed from Sarah because her own wardrobe consisted mainly of worn jeans and faded t-shirts from her years working double shifts at the diner. She checked her bank account for the third time in 10 minutes. $18.42. That was all she had until payday in 5 days. The coffee in front of her had cost $4.50. She had enough for one more drink if her date ordered something, but that was it. If he suggested food, she would have to make an excuse and leave. Emma felt the familiar weight of shame settle on her shoulders. She was 27 years old and could barely afford coffee. Meanwhile, Sarah had described her blind date as successful, kind, and exactly what Emma needed. What Sarah had not mentioned was that Emma was exactly the opposite of what any successful man would want. She was broke, working 2 jobs to pay off her mother's medical bills, and had not been on a real date in over 2 years. She was about to text Sarah and cancel when a man walked into the cafe. He wore a dark gray suit that fit him perfectly, the kind of tailored look that spoke of money and taste. His dark hair was styled with casual precision, and everything about him screamed confidence and success. He scanned the cafe, and when his eyes landed on Emma, he smiled and walked over. "Emma?" he asked, his voice warm. "Yes," Emma managed, her throat suddenly dry. This could not be her blind date. This man looked like he belonged in boardrooms and penthouses, not sitting across from a woman wearing a borrowed sweater in a modest cafe. "I'm Marcus," he said, extending his hand. "Marcus Ashford. Sarah told me so much about you. May I sit?" Emma shook his hand, noticing how steady and warm his grip was, and nodded. Marcus settled into the chair across from her, and a waitress appeared almost immediately. "What can I get you?" she asked Marcus with the kind of attentive service Emma never received. "I'll have an espresso," Marcus said, then looked at Emma. "Have you ordered food? The pastries here are excellent." Panic fluttered in Emma's chest. "Oh, I am fine with just coffee, thank you." "Are you sure?" "I'm actually starving. I had back-to-back meetings all morning and skipped breakfast. Would you mind if I ordered something?" "Of course not," Emma said quickly. Marcus ordered a selection of pastries and sandwiches, enough food for several people. When the waitress left, he turned his full attention to Emma, and she felt herself shrink under the weight of his gaze. "Sarah speaks very highly of you," Marcus said. "She told me you are one of the most genuine people she has ever met. That you have a heart bigger than anyone she knows." Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Sarah exaggerates. We have been friends since high school. She is biased." "I don't think so," Marcus said thoughtfully. "She told me about how you have been taking care of your mother through her illness. About how you work 2 jobs to make sure she gets the treatment she needs. That does not sound like exaggeration. That sounds like strength." Emma looked down at her coffee, uncomfortable with the praise. "Anyone would do the same for their mother." "No," Marcus said gently. "They wouldn't. Most people would find a way to avoid that kind of responsibility. The fact that you stepped up without question says everything about your character." The food arrived, and Marcus immediately pushed the plate of pastries toward Emma. "Please help yourself. I ordered way too much." Emma hesitated. She was hungry. She had skipped breakfast to save money, and the croissants looked incredible. But accepting food from a man she just met felt like charity, and her pride bristled at the idea. "I am really not hungry," she said. Marcus studied her for a moment, and Emma had the uncomfortable feeling that he could see right through her lie. But instead of pushing, he simply took a croissant for himself and changed the subject. "So Sarah tells me you are a writer. What do you write?" Emma blinked in surprise. She had not written anything in months, not since her mother's diagnosis had consumed all her time and energy. "I used to write short stories. Nothing published, just things I worked on in my spare time. I have not had much opportunity lately." "What kind of stories?" Marcus asked, genuine interest in his voice. About ordinary people finding extraordinary moments in everyday life, Emma said, feeling the familiar spark of passion that writing always ignited in her. About the small kindnesses that change everything. About connection and hope and the ways we surprise ourselves. That sounds beautiful, Marcus said. Have you thought about trying to get published? Emma laughed, but there was no humor in it. Publishing requires time and resources I do not have. Right now, I am focused on making sure my mom gets through her treatment. The writing can wait. But you miss it, Marcus said, and it was not a question. Every day, Emma admitted quietly. Writing was the one thing that was entirely mine. The one space where I could create something meaningful. Giving it up felt like losing a piece of myself. Marcus was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. Can I tell you something? A few years ago, I almost gave up on my dreams too. I was working at a company where I felt invisible, where my ideas were dismissed and my potential was ignored. I convinced myself that security was more important than passion. That being practical mattered more than being fulfilled. What changed? Emma asked. I met someone who asked me a simple question. If money were not an issue, what would I be doing with my life? And I realized that I had been so focused on survival that I had forgotten to actually live. So I quit my job, started my own company, and took a risk on myself. It was terrifying. But it was also the best decision I ever made. That is brave, Emma said, but also a privilege. Some of us do not have the luxury of taking risks. Some of us have responsibilities that require us to choose security over dreams. Marcus nodded slowly. You are right, and I apologize if I sounded insensitive. I do understand that everyone's circumstances are different, but I also believe that sometimes we abandon our dreams too easily, convincing ourselves we have no choice when there might be options we have not considered. Before Emma could respond, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. I am sorry, this is important. Do you mind if I take this call? It will just be a minute. Of course, Emma said. Marcus stepped outside and Emma was left alone with the plate of food and her swirling thoughts. She checked her phone and saw a text from Sarah asking how the date was going. Emma did not know how to answer. Marcus was kind and interesting, but the gulf between their lives felt insurmountable. What could she possibly offer someone like him? Her phone buzzed with another notification, this time from her bank. Insufficient funds for automatic payment. Her mother's prescription. Emma felt her stomach drop. She had miscalculated. The prescription was supposed to come out tomorrow, not today. Now she did not even have enough for the coffee, let alone anything else. Panic set in. She could not ask Marcus to pay for her coffee. They had just met. That would be humiliating. But she also could not leave without paying. That would be worse. Emma felt tears prick her eyes as the reality of her situation crashed over her. She could not even afford a simple coffee date. Marcus returned to the table and immediately noticed the change in her expression. Emma, what is wrong? I need to go, Emma said quickly, standing up. I am sorry, this was a mistake. Thank you for the coffee. Wait, Marcus said gently, standing as well. Please, sit down. Talk to me, what happened? I cannot stay, Emma said, her voice breaking. I am sorry. I should never have agreed to this. Emma, Marcus said, his voice soft but firm. Please, whatever's going on, let me help. Even if it is just listening. Emma sat back down, defeated. She could not even make a graceful exit. I cannot pay for my coffee, she admitted, the words barely a whisper. I thought I had enough, but an automatic payment just came out of my account for my mother's prescription. I do not even have $5 right now. I am sorry. I should have been honest from the beginning. The shame was overwhelming. Here she was, on a date with a successful CEO, admitting she could not afford a cup of coffee. She wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. But when she finally looked up at Marcus, she did not see judgment or pity in his eyes. She saw understanding, and something that looked like respect. It is on me, Marcus said simply. The coffee, the food, all of it. Please do not worry about it. I cannot let you pay, Emma protested. We just met. You do not owe me anything. I know I do not owe you anything, Marcus said. But I would like to do this. Not as charity, but as one human being helping another. You are going through a difficult time. Let me make this one small thing easier. But I have nothing to offer you in return, Emma said, tears now falling freely. I am broke. I am exhausted. I am barely holding my life together. Why would you want to spend time with someone like me? Marcus reached across the table and gently took her hand. Because in the 30 minutes we have been talking, you have shown me more authenticity and courage than I have seen in years. Because you are sacrificing your own dreams to care for someone you love. Because despite everything you are going through, you are still kind and thoughtful and real. Those qualities are rare, Emma, and they are valuable beyond measure. Emma looked into his eyes and saw sincerity there. I do not understand. You could be with anyone. Why would you choose someone with so many problems? Because problems are temporary, Marcus said gently. Character is permanent. And you have the kind of character I admire, the kind I want in my life. They talked for 2 more hours. Marcus ordered more food, insisting Emma eat, and slowly she relaxed enough to accept his generosity. She told him about her mother's cancer diagnosis, about the crushing weight of medical bills, about the dreams she had put on hold. Marcus listened without judgment, offering support and understanding without trying to fix everything. In turn, Marcus told her about his own struggles, about building his company from nothing, about the loneliness of success, about how wealth had not brought him the fulfillment he had expected, about how most people in his life saw him as a resource rather than a person. When the cafe began to close, Marcus walked Emma to her bus stop. Can I see you again? He asked. Are you sure? Emma asked. I meant what I said. I have nothing to offer you right now. No money, no time, no energy for fancy dates or exciting adventures. My life is work and taking care of my mom. That is all I can manage. That is enough, Marcus said. You are enough. Let me take you to dinner next week, somewhere you can relax and not worry about the cost. Let me help carry some of this burden you have been carrying alone. Why would you do that? Emma asked, still unable to fully believe this was real. Because you remind me of what matters, Marcus said. You remind me that success is not about how much money you make or how impressive your title is. It is about who you are when things get hard, about the choices you make when no one is watching. You are living a life of integrity and sacrifice, and that inspires me. I want to be part of that. I want to support you the way you support your mother. Over the following months, Marcus became a steady presence in Emma's life. He paid for dinners without making her feel small. He listened to her frustrations without trying to solve everything with money. He encouraged her to write again, setting up a small fund to cover her bills for 3 months so she could focus on finishing her short story collection. When Emma protested that it was too much, Marcus simply said, "Let me invest in your talent. Consider it a loan if that makes you more comfortable. But I believe in what you are creating, and I want to help make it possible." Emma's mother eventually went into remission. The book Emma finished during those 3 months was picked up by a publisher, and Marcus, who had started their relationship by saying, "It is on me" over coffee, continued to show up every day, not with money or solutions, but with the kind of steady, genuine love that Emma had never believed she deserved. Years later, when people asked how they met, Marcus would smile and say, "She was the woman who taught me that the most valuable things in life cannot be bought. That authenticity and character matter more than any bank account. And that sometimes the best investment you can make is in someone who has nothing to offer but their genuine self." And Emma would add, "He was the man who saw past my circumstances to the person underneath, who understood that needing help is not weakness, and who showed me that accepting kindness with grace is its own form of strength." Because that is what they learned together, sitting in that cafe over coffee Emma could not afford. That we all need help sometimes, that offering it freely is a gift, and that accepting it gracefully is an act of courage that can change everything. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming stories. Tell us in the comments about a time when someone's unexpected generosity or kindness made a difference in your life. Your stories remind us all of the power of compassion and human connection.